Group 2 in NSTP. So in this video, together with my classmates, we will going to tackle about the national security concerns. So what is national security concern? Anything that threatens the physical well-being of the population or jeopardizes the stability of the nation's economy or institutions considered as national security threats. There are security issues that our country, Philippines, is currently facing. The improvement of facilities in the Philippines, occupied features in the West Philippine Sea were also undertaken. Transboundary issues such as terrorism, drug trafficking, piracy, smuggling, and human trafficking are being addressed through the strong collaborative mechanisms within the ASEAN framework. The Philippine government made a national security policy. The national security policy is a statement of principles that should guide national decision-making and determine course of action to be taken in order to attain the state or condition wherein the national interest, the well-being of our people and institutions, and our sovereignty and territorial integrity are protected and enhanced. Why is national security important in the Philippines? The primary objective of the National Security Policy, or NSP, is to fulfill this national vision and safeguard the national interests, which include, among others, the protection of the people, their ways of life, welfare and well-being, strengthening of the country's democratic institution, safeguarding its territorial integrity and sovereign rights, and enhancing the Philippines' role and image as a strategic partner of the international community.
So now I'm going to discuss what are the national security concern threat lists. There are many national security concern threat lists, but I just chose 4, such as hostile government, terrorism, proliferation, and national disaster and diseases. So let's first discuss what is hostile government. An hostile government, these threats may include act of war or aggression. An example of this are espionage and election interference. Terrorism. Terrorism countries also face threats from groups who don't formally represent a foreign governments but may be supported or tolerated by foreign powers. The third one is proliferation. On proliferation, an enemy state doesn't have to take an aggressive action as a potential threat to national security. The last one is natural disasters and diseases. Natural disasters, this may include a hurricane, earthquake, or other natural disasters pose serious damage to a nation's people and physical infrastructure. Diseases like COVID-19 can weaken our health and affect our economic system. So after I discuss those national security concern threat lists, let's move on to 4 pillars of national security concern. There are 4 pillars of national security concern such as governance, delivery of basic services, economic reconstruction and sustainable, and security sector reform. So let's first discuss governance. So what is governance? A governance is a state which entities are directed and controlled. It is concerned with the structures and process of a decision-making, accountability, control, behavior, and the top of an entity. Number 2 is the delivery of basic services. This may refers to the delivery of basic services in our society, such as water supply, electricity, street lighting, controls, health services, and etc. Last one is security sector reform, transforming the security or sector system that includes all the actors, their roles, responsibilities, and actions. It aims to help the state enhances the security of their citizens.
Elements of national security. There are 7 elements of our national security that amplify the national interest. All of these elements consider the psychosocial aspect of national security, such as people's perceptions or belief, social norms and character that affect the appreciation of government's policies and the programs, These are socio-political stability. It is to achieve peace and harmony among all Filipinos, regardless of creed, ethnic origin, and social status. The government and the people must engage in nation building under the rule of law, constitutional democracy, and the full respect of human rights. At the same time, the government is accountable to the people and as such must ensure socio-political stability through good governance by focusing on its purpose and outcomes for its citizenry and for performing efficiently and effectively in clearly defined roles and functions. Territorial integrity, this means that the territory of the country is intact and under the effective control of the government. It is to ensure the permanent inviolability of our national territory and its effective control by the government and the state. The land territories as well as bodies of water within our Philippine maritime jurisdiction are effectively economic solidarity. It is to collectively pursue and build the economy to be strong, capable of supporting national invade force, and derives its strength from the solidarity of our people who can have an organic stake in true participation and ownership. This is the core interest of the national vision to ensure that Filipinos become stakeholders in economic and business enterprises so that they will collectively defend, protect, and improve the economic system for themselves and the future generations of the Filipinos. Ecological balance, the national survival rests upon the effective conservation of our natural environment in the face of industrial and agricultural expansion and population growth. This dimension of national security seeks to support development that is environmentally sustainable for the benefit of the nation and the people who depend on it. Cultural cohesiveness, this element implies that the Filipinos have shown their collective sense of value to the principle of the freedom and human dignity of a person. The most recent manifestations of this value were the martyrdom of Senator Benigno Aquino and the courageous heroism demonstrated by his wife Corazon Aquino in the struggle to restore democracy. Moral spiritual consensus, the Filipino people must be propelled by the national vision inspired and manifested in words and deeds, by patriotism, national pride, and the advancement of our national goals and interests. Peace and harmony, the Philippines as a democratic country is committed to world peace and the preservation of the world order. National security is endangered and sustained through harmonious relations with our neighbors and allies. For this purpose, it is for the enduring interest of the country to force harmonious engagement and relationship with other nations, starting with the member countries of ASEAN.
Function of national security concern. Well, the government wants to protect the society from destruction owing to a disaster or crisis. With its national security strategy, it is examining the threats on how to prevent them and what to do if a disaster or crisis occurs. What is the main purpose of the National Security Policy or NSP? It is to fulfill the national vision and safeguard the national interests, which includes, among others, the protection of people, their ways of life, welfare, and well-being. It's strengthening the country's democratic institution.
Threats to national security and how the governments protect its citizens. In every nation face threats, and these threats it can be a social, such as aggressions from neighboring countries. So what is a national security threats? The national security threats, it can be further broken down into groups, and anything that threatens the physical well-being of the populations or jeopardizes the stability of a nation economy or institution is considered as a national security threat. National security threats protects not only the citizens but also the economic stability of the national institutions. And national security involves the national governments working autonomously to protect its citizens from threats. So the national security have a one core responsibilities. It is identifying the potential dangers and readying the right response. So let's proceed to the 5 threats to national security and how the governments protect its citizens. First is we have hostile government. Hostile government, these threats may include direct of war or aggressions, and some national security threats come from foreign with hostile intentions. Terrorism. Terrorist group may seek to cause chaos, disruptions through physical violence or in some cases cybercrime. Countries also face threats from groups who don't formally represent a foreign government but may be sponsored or tolerated by foreign power. Proliferation. The idea of proliferation, specifically with regard advanced weaponry, and may also be taken into account. Cybercrime. Cybercrime, only criminals pose a danger to national security, including those not associated with hostile governments and terrorist groups. Natural disaster and diseases. Not all the threats to national security involves the malignant influence of bad actors. Hurricanes, earthquakes, and other natural disasters can pose serious damage. That's all about the 5 threats to national security and how the governments protect its citizens.